Hello, welcome back to the James Ramblin' Reviews for yet another episode, and in today's episode I'm actually going to be reviewing for you Aquaman 2 and the Lost Kingdom. I know I'm like 2 weeks late to the party, but I wasn't able to watch it originally and stuff like that, so before we get into my thoughts about the movie, the plot and things of that nature, right, I'm just going to say this right now. The context behind this is that I'm not the hugest fan of the first Aquaman movie. I want to say I watched it in 2020, but I cannot remember what the movie's even about. And so there's definitely that. I'm also not the biggest fan of DC films. Like, the only DC movies I've truly enjoyed is probably in the past while is The Flash and Blue Beetle. Other than that, I'm not always the biggest fan of them. I mean, I did like Shazam 2, and I did actually kind of dig the Suicide Squad from 2021, but I'm not telling you that I have watched DC movies since I was 5 years old and absolutely love them, da 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 da. I'm not someone like that. I've always watched Marvel movies, and I know I've criticised Marvel before, but there's just those times where I have watched more Marvel content than DC. So you know that. If you know that, right, you're going in, you're expecting, oh, you don't really know much about DC, or you don't really dabble into that kind of stuff, but you have enjoyed that stuff, right? So that once you're inside of that, right, and the context is done, and then you get into that plot kind of stuff. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, right, what is this movie about? So Aquaman 2, to put it simply, is the sequel to the first Aquaman, right? And then you've got like this whole thing about how this DC universe is ending, the one that the DCEU is ending, and then James Gunn's going to do his own. But then you've also got this story where you've got Aquaman, you've got Black Manta, you've got him, Aquaman, getting a new son, and there's all this stuff, there's all these things going on. There's this whole reveal about Atlantis and things of that nature, and that is what the film is about. The sequel and an end to the DCU pretty much, and to do with Black Manta. So that once it gets into how I feel about the film, so this is pretty interesting for me, because I just think this movie, it's not my favourite movie of all time. I don't think it is the best content I've seen, and it's an interesting contrast because I really liked Flash and I really like Blue Beetle, and the reason why I say that is because other than maybe Jason Momoa's performance, I don't think this movie is very good in my opinion. And for example, right, I feel like Jason Mamoa, he has these fun moments, right? It's kind of cool seeing him with a new kid and they're messing around. It's kind of funny at the start. But once you start getting into the plot and you start thinking about the movie itself, for me, it just kind of gets worse and worse in my mind. Like, there's a lot of plot holes and things of that nature. So, for example, right, you've got this guy called the Black Manta, right, I've just mentioned earlier. Right, he's supposed to be the super bad guy. He's supposed to get revenge on Aquaman and things of that nature. But by the end of the film, this is a spoiler, right? So spoiler warning: if you haven't seen the film, don't watch this video, right? So pretty much what happens at the end of this movie is that Black Manta pretty much gets destroyed by him, and then Amber Heard shows up and she does it as well. And that's an interesting thing about this movie, right? Is that there's times where Amber Heard isn't in the movie, then she's in the movie because of that whole thing with Johnny Depp. So they had to cut it out, so that just makes the movie feel a bit janky, a bit awkward and clunky. There's also some interesting things where they kind of go off topic, and what do I mean by that, right? So basically, pretty much what happens is that, right, they pretty much go away from this whole Black Manta deal, and then they go straight into these other worlds and these underground places, underwater places, and it just doesn't feel like we're trying to focus in on the main story. We're just trying to go elsewhere to pad out the runtime. Like, that's what it feels like, right? Sometimes it feels like it's just a reason to make the movie feel a bit longer, because I know this movie is 2 hours, but there's times where I thought the movie dragged on. Because I did check my phone a few times, and definitely there was times where the movie could have ended sooner and stuff like that. And I would have to say that this movie's like a 5 out of 10 for me. There's a lot of things I didn't like about this movie. I did like Jason Momoa's performance, but overall, it's just not a movie for me. And maybe I should have rewatched the first movie, but that's just how it is, right? I just didn't like the movie, and so other than that, right, I hope you enjoyed this review, the James Ramlin Reviews. This is a different tone and everything like that. I just didn't really like the film. If you can accept that, if you can accept my opinion and want to watch it, even if you disagree, right, maybe you're somebody out there that actually likes this movie and you're like, oh, you're wrong or whatever. And especially when you get into that, I'd have to say that the person I went to see this was Stuart, right? Forgot to mention that, right? So he actually enjoyed this movie more than I did. And I went to the Forge instead of the Cine World in Renfrew Street or whatever, right? So the screen was smaller, but despite the screen change, despite the cinema change, I still wasn't a big fan of the film. And I think I would say this, that if you were drunk, if you told me you were on 7 Guinnesses or something, you would definitely have a rocking time with this one. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the movie. If you disagree, right, I would still give it like a mixed bag, because there is a little aspect that I did enjoy, but the rest of it was kind of blah, meh 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 meh, and people are already forgetting about it. So yeah. Hope you enjoyed this review on the James Allen review. Stay tuned for more like it. And so yeah, bye. Stay tuned for episode 101 of the James Allen show coming tonight as well. So yeah, bye.